Hey and welcome to my quick video. I want to talk a little bit about something that has been going on in my life in the last 2 months very intensively. And I've received a lot of Facebook messages and emails about websites where people try to warn me how Bitcoin might be a scam or how this is somewhat tricky. And so I wanted to make this quick couple of minutes video and explain a little bit about why I'm investing so much time into this, where I see this whole community going. And I want to give you some little bit of an insight why you should actually care. So for me, how has been my past in the entire idea? I, just as a quick upfront note, I own a few Bitcoin, but this is not because I want to invest in them or because I really believe in Bitcoin per se. It's just because I want to try it out, see how it works to pay with them and see how this works. So this is a bit of a disclaimer at the beginning. Not really important, but I just wanted to point that out. The first time I heard about Bitcoin per se was in 2011, but there I only heard from it out of a speculative point that they might increase in value. Now, since I was never interested in speculating with a currency, even though here it was decentralized, we're going to talk about what this means, I didn't really pay much attention. And then just 4 years later, actually the currency soared. So if I would have actually invested into the Bitcoin and speculated on it, I would have made tons of money. Well, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of opportunities out there. I made money somewhere else, so that's totally fine. 4 years later, I heard about the technology that Bitcoin is using to use all that, and that's what we're going to talk about. And I started to understand more and more, and I was actually in Singapore, more and more understood about that, and I was kind of interested already. And then things come together. There's a really famous investor from Silicon Valley. His name is Reid Hoffman. He was also at the very beginning of LinkedIn, so you can check him out, and he invested 21 million US into a blockchain technology company. And then I started getting interesting because I was following Reid Hoffman for quite some time, and I was like, wow, okay, so if that guy sees the value in the technology behind it, there must be something interesting behind it. And so I said, okay, let's dig a bit deeper. And so over the last 2.5 months, actually, I was really digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the system to understand what it is all about. And so what I want to talk to you now is all the knowledge that I've gained in the last 2.5 months, and I want to split this down into 3 things. So first of all, I'm going to tell you why you should care about this. I am going to explain a little bit how Bitcoin works or how the blockchain works, and I'm going to give you some very specific applications of this so you might start to understand how this works. For those that want to dig a bit deeper, if you're watching this on my blog, then just go down. I have added some of the other videos, other links so you can connect there. Or if you're just watching this on YouTube, then just go on the description. I have all the things down below so you can click on the links. So the first question is, why should you care? Why care about blockchain is something that's totally new. Now this is really important. In our past, we had 4 major shifts so far when it comes to computer technology. 4 of them. First one was mainframe. And this is quite some time ago. But the companies that were, or the people that were really up front there, for example, IBM, this is just one of the examples, they made tons of money in this because they saw a trend, so they understood how this works. So the next one was, okay, PCs, especially Apple or Microsoft, and both companies, they really benefited from this trend because they saw where everything was heading. Now, the next one was the internet. This was in 1990s. Internet, okay, here especially Amazon or Google, who are really benefiting from this. So they saw the trend, adopted technologies behind this, and started using this. Okay, and the last one is mobile and social media. And most of you are familiar with this, for example, Facebook, Uber, or Snapchat. Now these are companies who really adopted this trend and understood, okay, this might be interesting, let's get on this wagon. Now you might be listening or watching to this and you're like, I'm not this kind of company, why should I care? Now here's the thing, there's people, and I just want to focus on those 2 things here. There's people here, for example, YouTube. There are YouTubers out there who understood the technology of the internet, of social media, Instagram, Snapchat, all these things that are making millions of dollars because they understood where technology is heading, and these are individual people. So the question is, these people here, and here we're talking about, for example, the 2000, here we're talking about 2010 maybe, there were people who understood what was happening, and they got ahead of the wave. And so the question is, what's next? What's next? And so what is next? And of course, there can be a lot of things here. Now, where I agree with many very smart people out there is the next thing might be the blockchain technology. And the reason for that, and this is why you should care, and the reason for that is I want to explain you how this technology works so you can kind of understand why I think this could be the next thing. And here it's basically the storage of value. And I want to explain to you, very simple, how this works. There's a video that I linked to below that explains the blockchain really nicely in nice graphics, and this is not me, I'm not a graphic person. I can deliver content, I'm not a graphic person. So you can watch that if you want. Now, of course, with that storage of value and this new technology, just like in all the other things, there's always a lot of negative stuff. For example, negative, if you heard about it, Bitcoin gets associated with drugs a lot, Bitcoin gets associated with money laundering, things get lost, people lose their fortunes, a lot of speculation. And again, I do not propose to invest into Bitcoin. I wouldn't, even today I would not. Why? Because Bitcoin per se doesn't produce any money. So it's just speculation. So don't do it. Don't buy Bitcoin if you think the current value is going up. I wouldn't do that. So there's a lot of negative stuff to that. But that is towards one storage of value, and that is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is the storage of money value in a decentralized way. And now I want to explain you what this means. Now this is the only thing that has such a negative association because of the drugs, because of the money laundering and so on. So let me quickly explain you how this would work. Now just imagine, and I'm pretty sure you know the game, Monopoly. Probably have played. So let's see, there's 3 people playing Monopoly. Tom, Susie, and Peter. Okay. There's always the biggest fight, who's the banker, right? Because the banker always wins. Now, so the question is, okay, if there's 3 Monopoly players, who takes care of the bank and who takes care of the money? So normally, okay, Tom says, okay, I'm gonna be the banker, okay, then Tom is the banker and he's in charge of everything. Now, of course, in our real life, this is how it is. One central bank says, okay, I'm the central bank. I mean, it's not voluntarily chosen, it's just there. And they are in charge. So Tom has an easier way to cheat. Now, I'm not saying Tom is cheating. I'm not saying central banks are cheating. I'm just saying they have the inclination to be in charge. And this is unfair to the other parties. So what's the solution is that everyone's keeping, similar like an Excel sheet, and we call this a ledger. Everyone is keeping the same ledger. So as soon as Tom throws his dice and moves, and he has to pay money or receives money, all 3 parties mark down in the first little box, okay, so Tom, for example, had to pay $5. Okay, and it also marks 2. So Susie does this, Peter does this, everyone does this. And once they agree on it, next person is on. So then Susie's turn, and Susie throws. And so it goes, and so everyone is marking down the same notes in their ledger. Everyone agrees on the same ledger. So of course, the longer they play, the older these older transactions get, and the safer they become, the more secure, because it's like everyone agrees on them. It's easy to cheat on one of them, but just to cheat on an older one is very difficult. Now, what does this have to do with the blockchain, the Bitcoin technology? Well, actually, it works exactly the same way. Just instead of playing a Monopoly game where there's only 3 people, in the blockchain of Bitcoin, there's maybe 1 million or more participants who agree on the so-called public ledger of how many Bitcoins everyone has. This is public, so everyone can see this public ledger, just like in a Monopoly game. Now, there's 3 really important benefits to that. The first one of this public ledger that everyone agrees on is it's decentralized. Decentralized. That means the participants agree that this is how it is. It's not one central bank who can start inflation, who can start cheating. No, it's everyone agrees on it. Okay, so this is big upside. Okay. Next big upside is it can be mathematically controlled of what the rules to the game are. It's mathematically controlled. So for example, in Bitcoin, and you could set these rules for anything else, it's 21 million Bitcoin maximum that can be part of that game. So that is how the rules are. It's 21 million. So over time, more and more Bitcoin come. There's a mathematical calculation. You can watch this in the video. And so that's super, super stable. Anyone can understand that. And the third, and this is really, really important, is there's a double spending safety mechanism. So that means the Bitcoin, the technology, because everyone waits on that everything is agreed on, it cannot be that Susie spends $10 to Peter, but then also spends the $10 to Tom. So the Bitcoin prohibits this. And so you could, let's say you are a hacker, you could go to Susie's ledger and hack Susie's ledger, but since she's the minority and the other two agree on that hers was hacked, you cannot do anything. So for someone to take over the whole protocol, they would have to hack every single person, or at least the majority of the people. So that's how, or what are major benefits in this whole protocol. Okay, great. Now, these are upsides. What are the downsides? Let's write the downsides down here. The downsides are, and that was especially a problem at the very beginning, since everything was anonymous, okay? It was difficult to integrate it into everyday life. Now you understand, most banks, or all the banks in the world, require something called KYC, know your customer. So, for many people, the anonymous side, especially for illegal things, I'm not saying that everyone uses Bitcoin for illegal things, I'm just saying it was convenient to order drugs or do money laundering because it was anonymous. No one knew, because these public ledgers, they are anonymous, so everyone sees the numbers but they don't see the people behind it. It was a big problem integrating it into everyday life. Because for someone to start to use actual money with Bitcoin, fiat money with Bitcoin, the problem was it had to exchange with the rules, and most banks need a KYC. So there are solutions right now where this is happening, so this is really good. So that is fine. Now the second big problem is the great upside of being decentralized also means that things change very slowly. I'll give you a quick example. At the moment, there's a big discussion in the Bitcoin community of how big one of these so-called blocks is. So basically like an Excel sheet box. How much data can go into one little Excel sheet block? It's a big discussion at the moment. Why is this important? Well, the more we grow, the more transactions happening, the more data should fit into one block. The question is, how big is this block supposed to be? And if you cannot convince the majority of the people, it's really difficult, or actually impossible, to have the technology working. So what is upside is at the same time a major downside for it. Now, if you want, watch the little video that explains it into quite some detail. I just want to clearly map this out. Now, we talked about why you should care. I explained you how it works now, but it still doesn't fit together. So why do I think this is so interesting? Personally, I do not think it is because of Bitcoin. I do not think Bitcoin is so exciting. What I think is exciting is the following. These public ledgers do not have to be used for money. They can be used for any storage of value, decentralized. So let me give you some examples. Property could be stored in this, cars, insurance. It would be almost impossible to fake certain things once they are prompt in there. So once things are entered into this ledger, they are stored. So there's no more discussion. Do you own a property, for example, in a third world country where there's no proper legal system? So many costs could be saved, even in first world countries, where this administrative stuff of how to update these things take forever. For example, I bought an apartment right now. Gosh, it cost me so much money just in administrative fees and legal fees because of these ledgers in our country being so slow, so archaic. With this Bitcoin, or with the blockchain is basically this ledger here, everything could be a lot cheaper, could be quicker, and could be extremely popular. And we see these things coming more and more. So let me give you some more specifics. For example, escrow services could be done on this public ledger, because I could say, okay, I'm paying you $100,000 US, and I'm gonna buy this apartment. And you're gonna get these $100,000 once I have the apartment. And this is all automated in so-called smart contracts. So it would take out, for example, escrow service at the moment, because it would automate that in there. There can be a lot of other things. For example, in the US, part of the NASDAQ, the stock exchange, is now going into the blockchain. Why? Because it makes exactly clear who owns certain parts of the company. It's almost irrefutable. It cannot be wiped out anymore. Diamonds, for example, can be registered on the blockchain. So if you buy a diamond, you can clearly say, ah, yeah, okay, this is a real diamond. And no one can fake that because it's not in a centralized government where you can bribe someone and then suddenly a fake diamond becomes a real diamond, or a blood diamond becomes a non-blood diamond. You understand what I mean? This blockchain, it's decentralized, and that's the really beautiful part. One of the future things, and I've just been to a workshop about this entire huge thing, is that computer programs could run on such things decentralized. So that means, for example, you could have cars or apartments that work completely independent. They don't need one specific thing anymore. They are independent. They have their own set of rules. We're not talking about artificial intelligence here. We're talking about their own set of rules that they follow. They can automatically get gas or petrol or electricity, recharge, drive. They can automatically go for a service. All this is done completely independent in this public ledger. There's two books that I'm going to link down there. That one is about Bitcoin. It's just the most popular thing right now that's used with the blockchain. And the other thing is just basic ideas what to do with the blockchain. So these are two things. Now, let me come back to this, and this is my last point. So, why should you care? How can you find out more? What is really relevant? Now, this is the thing. Especially in third world countries where remittance, transferring money is very costly, where transferring value is sometimes really, really complicated, where the storage of value is sometimes a bit strange. If you understand the value here, you will agree that this might be the next big thing. And if you understand that, you don't have to dig into the details. I am at the moment going on a course on cryptology just so I understand more about the whole safety thing. You don't have to do that. But familiarize yourself a little bit, because this might become more and more and more popular and better and better and better. And I hope with this, I was able to show you why I spend so much time in this, why I think it is so popular, or why I think it can become more popular, because at the moment most people actually don't do it. I'll do a few more updates in the future. If you like this, let me know below. Give me a comment or drop me. If you have some questions, let me know. I try to answer them. I have some really smart people around me here in Hong Kong who know literally everything about this stuff, so I'm just summarizing it in what I understand so far. Also, there's a really good podcast that I subscribe to. It's for free. It's called Bitcoin Knowledge. I'll link it down below. You can have a look into this as well. So these are the resources and tools. And with this, guys, subscribe to my newsletter. I'm going to be sending out some news there. Link down below. And yeah, connect with me, Facebook, Twitter, here on the blog. Would be nice. Stay in touch, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and talk to you in the next one. Have a great week, guys. Cheers.